Hello, BookTube. I have often championed on this channel the keeping of a personal journal. I have kept a personal journal for many, many decades, and I believe that it has helped me in a lot of ways, and not just writing. It really does help you to clarify your own thinking, clarify your own reactions. It's an amazingly valuable thing that you can do to create what one YouTuber refers to as your own book. That's basically what you're doing. You're creating your own book. I've been doing it for a long time. I've been advocating it for a long time, especially for writers, but also for just anybody else. It is so useful to clear off half an hour at the end of a day or half an hour at the beginning of a day and look back on a discrete period of time, in other words, since the last time you made a journal entry, and think about it. Just think about it. Instead of stewing over it or knee-jerk reacting to it, to sit and think about it in the way you think about something when you have to commit it to paper, when you have to make an account of it. It clarifies your thoughts and it sorts things out. It tends to help you prioritize things. It can be an amazing tool for grounding your thinking, for leveling out your emotions, for gaining perspective on things that are active in your life. And also, just on a practical level, it is a fantastic exercise. If you give yourself a limited amount of space and a limited amount of time to make your journal entry for that day, and you want to accurately encapsulate not just the events of the time period, whether it's the day before or the night before, but also the feel of those events. If you do that for 3 years, if you do that 1,000 times, you're going to be really good at it. You're going to have a better command of the language than you had when you started. I have advocated this for years to people. I strongly advocated to you to give it a try, keeping a journal. And one of you made a suggestion a while ago. I've been meaning to get to it. That in addition to just advocating that, I might also walk you through a mock journal entry of my own. Not because you need to, to do it exactly the way I do it. There are as many ways to keep a journal as there are journal keepers. But just in case it's of interest to you, in case it gives you any ideas that you might want to adopt yourself. And I think that's a really good idea. So I want to go with that. I want to show you my journal for this year. I use these big black leather-bound blank sketchbooks. This is just page after page of blank. It's meant for sketching, but I use it for journal keeping because I like the wide open page, and also because I also sketch. So if I'm making a journal entry for a day and there's something of that day that I want to draw a picture of, then I don't have lines to contend with. And I used to get these in a normal book size. This is oversized, but I used to get them in a normal book size. But then I watched a YouTuber who, his name is Clark. I think his channel is called Never Settling or Never Settle or something like that. If I can find a link to one of his journal videos, I will leave it down below. I'm not willing to vouch for his other videos, but because he's one of these manifest your destiny people that thinks that I don't think he thinks this, but he certainly devotes a channel to the proposition that the only worthwhile thing in the world is money. I don't think he believes that, and I wish that he would rebrand himself before it's too late. But one way or another, an odd choice that he has made all throughout his channel's history is to champion journal keeping. Now, he does it in a different way than I do. For him, it is very much a productivity bro-tube tool. But I watch his journaling videos when he makes them, and he made a case for a bigger volume like this, something that is nice and generous, that's not cramped, that you can take and fill with all kinds of things. And I hadn't really thought about that, and then I tried it, and I really liked it. So that's what I do now. I'm wedded to these bigger volumes. I put the date in Roman numerals at the bottom. So that I know, I can tell at a glance. I don't have to put anything on here. I can just tell at a glance what year it is. I started out with the year, and then I do a thing on my own, which is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it here. I'm not sure that it's, yeah, no, you're not. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Then I move on in the book, and one of the things I like about this, in addition to the fact that I can sketch in it, is that I can also include documentation in it. So it almost functions as a scrapbook, which is invaluable. You should absolutely think about doing that. I'm going to give you an example of that. But first we'll go to a mock page, and I've started a journal entry for today. I put the date in red. And then in a box set off in green, I use one of these multicolored pens that has all the different colors on it. In a box underneath it, I put books that I've acquired in that day in a different color, so that at a glance I can see what I got and when. And then as the journal entry goes on, there'll be another box down here that will have a box that's set aside that will have quotidian details. So the high temperature for the day, whether or not there was any rain, what money I spent, and where and how much. Specific things like that, but nothing more than that. You don't want, that's not the point of the thing. I do that first after I've made the date, to sort of ground myself in the details of the time period that I'm going to cover. It helps a lot for me to concentrate, because you don't want to just, well, I don't want to just vent to my journal. That you're only writing this for yourself, and that's incredibly boring reading. You want to reflect. I use my journal as an exercise in reflection and compression, because I'm only going to use that space, just this, for the day. So everything that I'm going to write about that happened today is going to happen in that space. And it might look like a lot of space, but it's not. And in case you're wondering, I like having, the pen right nearby, and I like it all to be in one unit. I don't want to go hunting for something. So I latched this pen to a little string, and I tied the string to a piece of leather that I then wrapped around the journal so that the pen is right there and can't go anywhere. The pen is actually part of the journal, so I can it's always together. It's just for convenience. That's why you see it flopping around like that. But I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about for including a document, and I have props here. I think I have all the props I need. Yes, I do. Okay. The other day I showed you I got the new Harper's. And I mentioned at the time that I got it that the only thing that was really of interest to me, there was no books coverage in here that I really wanted. I naturally cracked a smile at one ad, but I'm not going to keep the ad. Let me see if I can find it. Yes. There's an ad for adopting a manatee. I naturally smiled a little at that, but never mind. The one thing in here that I thought was that I really wanted to keep was a terrifying article on TikTok co-op houses in California, where young TikTok stars go and live there, all expenses paid, and all they have to do all day is create viral content. The kind of weird, jerky dances that they do on TikTok. The money people are only want them to be viral. And they go into these houses and live there and do that. And they are devoid of any other interest. They are devoid of perspective, personality. They've never had any kind of education. They don't know anything about being responsible. Don't know anything about the world or the history of the world. And they don't care. They're all going to be millionaires by turning the camera on themselves and keeping it running 24 hours a day. And the article was too good for me to throw away. I've read the whole issue now. So what I'm going to do, the article is too good to throw away, but it also doesn't work. Ordinarily what I would do is pull out something, fold it, and put it in a book. And I don't have any book that's even remotely connected to this subject. It could be that somebody writes a great TikTok account down the line, but as far as I know, it hasn't happened yet. But I don't want to lose this thing. So what I do is, we'll go through this step by step. I pull it out of the magazine. Step number one in dealing with your old magazines is to read them. And don't let them pile up unread, because that's what will happen. I pull it out, but then I've got these rough edges. I don't want that. So I take the trusty scissors and cut right along the edge there so it's nice and smooth. Then I take the piece, go through it to make sure there are no facing ads. I want the prose all to be facing in one direction. There aren't. Then I take it like that, tap it down so it's nice and neat, and then fold it in half and put it in the journal at a spot near to where today's entry is. In other words, physically near in the volume to where I was when I read it. So now that article is saved. I will be able to find it. I'll know where it is. And this is junk. The magazine can be thrown away instead of accumulating, which is great. And that's basically what this video is for. So I am now primed to write this entry. I'm not going to do it yet because I am a dedicated journaler at the end of the day. I've known people who start the day with their journal for the day before or the night before or whatever. I am ingrained in the habit of making a journal entry at night as a sort of reflection on the day. And the day's not over. This day has hours and hours, probably 10 hours of daylight left in, and lots of reading, lots of writing, lots of time with Frida, lots of voxering with other people. So there's lots of stuff that still has to go in here. But that is the tour that I wanted to give you. This article is now right there at that blank page, and that blank page is now ready. What I tend to do with a journal entry is start off with the thing that is occupying my mind. That is, to me, the most helpful aspect of keeping a journal, is that you get a regular exercise in analyzing what's preoccupying you instead of just letting it stew and carry over. I will get to a certain point. I will clear my mind. I usually clear my mind from making a journal entry by writing the date. I don't often know the date. And also writing down all the quotidian detail. What did you spend and where? What books did you acquire and from whom? What format? That sort of thing. By the time I've done that, I am centered. I am ready to make a journal entry. And then the main process that I do to start off is, what is foremost on your mind? Now, you don't want to write only about that, because that's not what future you is who you're writing this book for. And future you is not going to be only interested in that. Like, for instance, earlier today, I took the subway. Future me is going to want to know that. Is going to want to know where I took it, from where to where, if there was anything wrong, anything noteworthy that happened, that sort of thing. So you don't want to concentrate only on what's preoccupying you, but I often start that way because the process of thinking about that is so rewarding. Take a deep breath once you're done with setting out your page and think, okay, now as I sit down to write this journal entry, what is foremost on my mind and why? Write about that and get that out on paper. It will so much, for me, it so much helps me to think about things, to get them down on paper like that. And then once I've worked through that in the same entry on that one page, then I can work out the details, you know, why is it on my mind? Did something today trigger it? What have you seen? What irritated you? What was pleasant? Where did you go? What did you do? That sort of thing. I can fill out the entry that way, and keep tabs on Frida as well. I know that future me is going to be interested in the state of my dogs from day to day. And I know this for a fact because I've looked at old journal entries. From time to time, I look at old journal entries, sometimes going back 30 years. And there I will see an absolutely priceless daily detail about some dog that's long, long gone. Long gone. Or I will see some little detail, some little procedural or personal detail about work at a bookstore that's long since closed. And I will have forgotten those little details until I read them. And then the whole purpose here is that you're writing a book to future you. So don't stint future you by obsessing on present you. And write about the stuff, the structure of your day, because that's going to be of interest to later you. And it's going to be used to you too, to hatch all that out as a present compendium of what you're living through. So anyway, that's just a quick video. I will carefully note this in the title so that if you're not interested in journal keeping, you can just skip this video. But I've had enough people ask me for follow-ups on journal keeping and on writing just in general. I need to do more AuthorTube videos, but on journal keeping specifically, I've had enough people ask me, you know, could you go over this a little bit more? That's how I do it. I firmly ground my journal not only in space, I don't give myself more than a page, but also in time. I list the integuments of the day, the expenses, the places gone to, the people talked to, the books acquired, and I firmly ground the entries in my quotidian concentrations, rather than here's where I go to write about dreams or concepts. I don't write about that at all in my journal. It sometimes will come in, but very tangentially so. There you go. This is my my 2021 journal, and that is how I do it. And I'm kind of liking it. I'm kind of liking this procedure. Every once in a while, I get a little misty-eyed for a smaller, maybe more floppy journal, but this one is too practical to abandon. Like, for instance, that article that I just cut out of Harper's and put in this journal. If I had a smaller, a normal-sized book-sized journal, I could only do that a couple of times before it would just be too unwieldy. This has tons of stuff in it. This thing does. So anyway, that's a mock journal entry. Let me know if those of you who are into journaling or want to maybe get into journaling. Let me know if this is any interest to you. I have lots more thoughts on the subject of keeping a personal journal. I just wanted to do this one just by popular demand. But I'll wrap this up. But I'll be back to books soon. Thank you, BookTube.